Welcome back, witches, for more Vlogtober. We have another spooky, rainy fall day here, and it is Vlogtober day 14. So yesterday, I did not get up my video for Vlogtober day 13. I started filming it in the car about Friday the 13th, and then my whole day just went crazy and I never had time to get back to filming, let alone posting. So we're gonna finish that up today and then jump into today's video. So first, let's roll the footage from Vlogtober day 13 from my car. Welcome back for another car vlog. We are at Vlogtober day 13. I am already late today because it is almost noon, and I am just driving home from getting my nails done with my mom. One of my go-to colors, which is a dark gray with a shimmer in it. That's kind of like a goldy, rose goldy color. It's OPI Turn Bright After Sunset. And I love going with my mom because she pays. So did that this morning because we both have high school reunions tomorrow. Obviously hers is a little, few more years on than mine. And she went to a different high school. She also went to an all-girls Catholic high school, but hers closed before I started high school, so I went to a different one. But normally I would not do this whole reunion thing, but one of my best friends, we have not lived near each other since high school because I went to Iowa, she went to Clemson, and has not been back since, but she recently moved to Milwaukee, so she's only about an hour and a half away, and she really wants to go. And then our other friends, like the trio of us, she really wants to go too, so they talked me into it by bribing me with alcohol. So that is the plan for tomorrow. So I was like, well, might as well go with my mom and get my nails done for this. Not that I hated my high school or the people that were in it. I actually really liked high school. Like, it was fine. My friend that I was talking about, Sarah, she went to junior high with me as well, which is probably why we're friends, because there was a heck of a lot of trauma bonding that went on at that junior high. I tell you, that was Opus Dei, and Opus Dei is a cult, and I don't even think that it's officially recognized as by the Catholic Church anymore. It goes back and forth, but I maintain that Opus Dei is a cult and problematic. I doubt if you're Opus Dei that you're even watching this, but if you are, don't even bother coming at me. Y'all are crazy. And so we definitely trauma bonded in junior high, and then so once we got to high school, which was like a Roman Catholic high school, and it was totally fine, totally normal. Like, after that, no like religious trauma. And so she and I were like, okay, this is great, we love it here. So that is tomorrow. It should be interesting. I don't know, it's just like, reunions are not really my thing, because I feel like I talk to everybody that I like from high school that I want to, and I just like don't know like what to talk about or like what we'd even like have in common. I think that's, just what happens as you get older and you sort of niche down into what you do in life, what you like to do. Like, my closest friends, or like biggest group of friends, is from law school, which I think there's law school has its own trauma bonding. But that's just because like we have the most in common. Like, we went through school together, we have similar careers, even if we specialize in different areas. We kind of do the same and similar things, so we can talk about work. So I think that's just the most common. Like, as you go further, like through school or work, your career, your friend group just kind of changes based on that. It's hard to still have everything in common with all the people you hung out with in high school. So I don't know, but we're going, so it'd be an interesting adventure for tomorrow. But anyway, it is Vlogtober day 13, and I just wanted to chat about that number 13 because Friday the 13th is, of course, a very famous Halloween movie. And that is because there are many associations with Friday the 13th as being like unlucky. There's so much superstition around the number 13, and I thought I would chat about where that comes from and whether or not you should be superstitious about this day. And short answer is, of course, no. But let's talk about where this superstition over the number 13 even came from. So there's a couple of reasons why the number 13 is superstitious. So first come the oldest report is thought to be the Code of Hammurabi, which is from ancient Babylon. It's the oldest, text that we have from them, the most well preserved, and that is from I think 1750 or so BCE, and that is their legal code, hammered, chiseled into stone, and it is missing code number 13. Historians really just believe that it was a mistake and they just forgot it, rather than 13 being an unlucky number all the way back then. And
What would you do if you're like chiseling this away in stone and you accidentally missed the number 13? Are you really going to go back and redo it? I don't think you are. So that is the first instance of it. Another instance may come in Norse mythology, and there is a story of there being a feast of the gods, and Loki was not invited, but he showed up anyway as this uninvited 13th guest. And at this feast, they were throwing things at Balder, because Balder is one of the gods that was invulnerable. And so they were like, well, nothing can kill him. Let's just chuck stuff at him. This is fun. This is a fun game. And Loki, of course, suggests that somebody throw a spear at him tipped in mistletoe. Mistletoe being the only plant, the only thing that can kill him. So, of course, he dies. So that maybe has that unlucky 13 in there. But mostly this idea of the number 13 being unlucky comes from Christianity. The most obvious source of that being Judas in the Bible at the Last Supper. Judas was the last to arrive, so Jesus plus his 12 disciples, that equals 13th. So he was the 13th person to arrive to the Last Supper. And then, of course, the next day, which was a Friday, Jesus was crucified after Judas betrayed him. There's also instance of that maybe Eve gave Adam the apple on a Friday, and that Cain killed Abel on a Friday. So those both come up in the Bible. So maybe that's where this unlucky Friday idea comes in, and where this unlucky 13 number comes in. So mostly Christianity. And then the main thing on Friday the 13th is the mass execution of the Knights Templar. The Knights Templar were formed to defend the Holy Land, and in 1307, I think it was, a bunch of them were rounded up and imprisoned, and then they were eventually tried and executed. And that happened, this like mass rounding up of them, on Friday the 13th. So it is thought that because of that, there is a curse on that day. And since then, there have been, of course, instances of bad things happening on Friday the 13th, like the German bombing of Buckingham Palace. There was a horrible natural disaster in India on Friday the 13th. There's a lot of like historical examples of bad things happening, but that might just be a case of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, you think bad things are going to happen, you just assume that they're going to, and then when a bad thing like does happen, you take notice of the date. Whereas there might be as many bad things that happened on Friday the 12th in history, but nobody really remembers it, like that date. It's not stuck in their mind in the same way that Friday the 13th is. Back in my garage picking up John. We are about to run some errands. Post office, library, going to Spirit Halloween. Is that really an errand? No, but we're doing it anyway. And then I will come back here and hopefully finish this vlog and post it, because it's already Friday the 13th and it's, afternoon, and I usually get these up in the morning, but that just did not happen today. This whole week has completely gotten away from me. So be right back for more information about Friday the 13th.
Now then, we are back to finish that chat. So we have these historical references about maybe what happened, some ideas of how Friday and the number 13 could be considered superstitious, but again, there is no real evidence for any of that. So let's instead move the chat over to how instead Fridays and the number 13 could be great for pagans and lucky instead. And while we do that, I am going to gather my ingredients that I want to use for today's charm bag. And today I am going to be making a charm bag for protection, for emotional energy in a crowd. Like I mentioned, it is high school reunion day, and I decided to carry a little charm bag on me to protect from all of the energies and everyone's emotions of like people that are going to be there. It's just something that I like to do in general in crowds. So this could also be helpful for you if you have any gatherings, parties, anything coming up. It's always nice to have some form of protection on you. And there are tons of ways you can do protection magic. I do like bottles, but I think carrying around in a purse, I would rather have a charm bag for today. So let's gather those ingredients and finish up the chat about Fridays and 13. So Fridays are named after the Norse goddess Frigg. And Frigg was associated with love, marriage, motherhood. So the day was great for marriages and was considered a great day for the divine feminine. She is often conflated with Freya. Freya is the goddess of love, fertility, also war, and she was endowed with the ability to perform magic. But both of these goddesses were worshipped widely throughout Europe, and then Friday was considered that especially lucky day to get married. And 13, if you are on a normal 28-day menstrual cycle, you have 13 periods in a year. And there are also 13 moon cycles in a year. So since fertility was so important back then, those two things were celebrated, and therefore so was the number 13. But of course, Christianity did not love that. They did not love any goddesses that had the power of sex, love, fertility, any of that. So they instead labeled them as witches and said that the witches would go up into the mountaintop to perform magic, and it would be, Frigg with 11 other witches plus the devil, which made 13. So with that smear campaign, they started to fear all things 13, and especially 13 as it is associated with Friday. But if you look back at our pagan roots, 13 and Friday the 13th is just an extra divine feminine day. So let me know how you feel about Friday the 13th. Do you consider it a lucky or unlucky day for you, or do you just have no thoughts about it whatsoever? Now into Vlogtober day 14. Here are the makings of my charm bag. I went with a purple velvet bag. You can go with any number of colors for this. And I usually like to use black. I find black especially protective. I do have a black candle here for this. But for the bag itself, I decided to go with purple because purple is a very emotional, empathic color for me. And since that's what I am specifically going for, is emotional protection, purple seemed the right color. I also have some cloves here for protection. I have a black tourmaline, which is great for absorbing negative energy and deflects any psychic attacks. And psychic attacks, the person doesn't have to know that they're doing it. That could come from anywhere. Anybody who has bad feelings towards you or is having a bad day in general, that could be directed towards you. So black tourmaline is a great defense for that. And I have the little pentacle here. So the first thing I'm going to do is light my black candle. Now, as this candle is burning down, I am just envisioning what all of these ingredients are going to do for me, and just generally tell them that I am looking for protection in this specific instance, just how it relates to the reunion and the kind of protection that I am looking for. And I am going to use my mini besom here. You can pick these up right now at Home Depot. I got mine last year actually, and it still smells really good. So I'm just going to make a sweeping motion over the ingredients to cleanse them. And then take each item and hold it between my hands to connect it with myself and my energy and infuse my energy into it, letting it know what I would like it to do. Those are my ingredients. You can add as many protective correspondences as you like. Sometimes I use a little more than this. Sometimes I just stick with a couple of things. Sometimes if you have a lot of different ones, the energies can get a little bit muddled and confused, but it really is up to you what you're feeling like and what you're drawn to. And now that the bag is made, I'm going to sit with this for a little while, further infusing my energy into it until I feel like it's ready. And then I am going to tie a knot in the top. And again, as I'm tying this knot, I am completing this spell. And getting that bag ready, and then once this has been used and I untie this knot, then I am releasing it. And releasing that energy, and then I can cleanse those items and reuse them. And that's it. That is my little charm bag. I like it. I like the smell of cloves, so it will be nice in my purse, but I also don't think that it's so overpowering that everyone around me will be able to smell it as well, which can sometimes be the case with another protective herb that I would normally put in here, which is garlic. That's my bag for this evening. That is everything for Vlogtober day 14. I hope you have a lovely day, and hopefully I will see you tomorrow for Vlogtober day 15.